Final test, testing, testing, testing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin in about 1 minute. We're going to try to start on time. The clock says 10:59, so we'll get going in 1 minute. All right, good morning. It is great to have you all here with us. I'm District Attorney Dan Dow, and this month of April 2025, we gather together to make the community more aware about the impact of crime on victims in our community, across the state of California, and every crime victim, no matter what kind of crime it is that has impacted them. So I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here today. And at the outset, I want to acknowledge the elected officials and other VIPs that are here amongst us. And if I forget someone, please know in advance No ill intent at all, but it's a crowd that I'm not sure I've seen everyone who has arrived. But I want to start by welcoming Sheriff Ian Parkinson, our sheriff, and other elected officials. We have Supervisor Heather Moreno, District 5, just arrived. I know was expecting a few others. I'm not sure, are any of your colleagues here at the moment? Okay. But I want to thank the board at the outset for making public safety its very top priority. And we are in some economic challenges right now, challenging times, and they have consistently reaffirmed their commitment to make public safety the top priority. And I want to thank them for that, because it's that kind of support that's necessary to provide the safety to our community and the support to victims and survivors. And so we appreciate the Board of Supervisors doing that. Thank you, Supervisor Moreno, for being here today. I want to also recognize all of our partners and various agencies from law enforcement. We have Chief Probation Officer Robert Reyes near the front. In a moment, we're going to hear from Chief Rick Scott from San Luis Obispo Police Department. We have a number of allied organizations that work with us to support crime. So you're all welcome, and we appreciate you being here. In 1983 in Santa Barbara County, a young woman named Marcy Nicholas, who was a UC Santa Barbara student, was stalked and then brutally murdered by her former boyfriend. Unfortunately, in the criminal justice process that went on after that, her parents experienced a very difficult justice system that really didn't look out for their needs, didn't treat them the way that we would hope the criminal justice system would treat victims of crime. This was 1983. And so inspired by the story of Marcy's parents and the sad experience that they had, and thanks to the voters, some 25 years later in 2008, the voters passed the Crime Victims Bill of Rights, which we know commonly as Marcy's Rights, in honor of Marcy Nicholas from Santa Barbara County. Their experience also highlighted something that a champion in our office for victims, Nancy Lovelace, who's here in the room today, when she was serving as a crime victim advocate, one of the things she would talk to her victims about was, I feel for you, I'm sorry that things don't seem to always go the way that a victim would want them to go, but they don't call it the victim justice system. They call it the criminal justice system. And so together with Nancy's inspiration on that, we in our county have chosen to kind of change the name of the system to the criminal and victim justice system. I've spoken about that across the state with other offices and my other colleagues from other counties around the state, and I would encourage you to try to adopt that. If we just change the way that we even refer to the system, when we're changing laws and we're talking about the system and improvements that we need to make, we don't want to leave out the victim. And unfortunately, over the last 10 to 15 years, from my perspective, and the sheriff and I have talked a lot about that along with the police chiefs, there's been a real focus on the offenders and how do we make it more kind and compassionate towards them. So today we mark Victims' Rights Awareness to ensure that their voices are heard in Sacramento and in Washington. There's a lot of other issues like the Victims of Crime Act money right now that is potentially being withheld from states and communities. And so we're very much encouraging our legislators, both in the federal and state capitals, to pass appropriate, responsible legislation. So the mission of the DA's office is to bring justice and safety to our community by the aggressive and fair prosecution of crime and protecting the rights of crime victims. Last year alone, our office served more than 11,000 victims of crime. We serve every type of crime victim: victims of rape, victims of DUI, victims of homicide, victims of domestic or intimate partner violence, sexual assault, child abuse, drug trafficking, human trafficking, the tragic crime of a death of an 11-year-old a few weeks ago in Atascadero at the hands of a driver that was driving recklessly while intoxicated of a drug. So the victim of crime is not just the individual who's personally harmed, but it could be their family member, an organization, or even a business. So for a moment, I'm going to talk about businesses. Yes, businesses in California have been victims of crime, rampant theft crime, since a badly written Proposition 47 was passed in 2014. Since that time, businesses are estimated in California to have lost between $78 and $100 billion in merchandise that was stolen. The economic impact on all of us is price increases, business closures. We've seen Walgreens shut down in the big cities and a number of other small businesses because they're owned by a small business owner. They couldn't withstand the pressure that they were facing from theft. Job losses. The retail sector in California supports 3.6 million jobs, people that are employed. Many have lost their jobs due to the increased costs of theft. Tax revenue declination. So right here in San Luis Obispo County, if we're not getting all of that tax revenue that we would have from sold goods, that reduces the amount of money available to our Board of Supervisors and other jurisdictions in the cities to be able to support public safety or other very important priorities. And then finally, insurance costs. These are just a few examples of the dramatic impact on the entire state of California from rampant and runaway repeat recidivist theft. So I wanted to take a moment to tell you that we are now better addressing the problems of theft and drug addiction that went rampant over the last 10 years. I want to acknowledge and thank the voters who overwhelmingly passed Proposition 36 in November 2024 with about 70% of the statewide effort. It was bipartisan. We had 4 of our 5 supervisors that early on endorsed Proposition 36, and our incoming supervisor, who was then the mayor of Atascadero. And so a major component of Proposition 36 was creation of new laws and new tools for law enforcement and judges to better protect and serve the business community who has been affected and individuals who have been affected by theft from them. In its first 100 days, Prop 36 is already having a dramatic impact on holding offenders accountable for their repeat thefts. We've had nearly 200 referrals from law enforcement on felony drug offenses that would have just been like a ticket before. That means they're repeat drug offenders that need help, that have not taken advantage of help because they didn't have the incentive of a more difficult sanction other than a misdemeanor. And we've had approximately 40 felony theft cases referred to our office. What's the impact? These people are charged with a more significant crime. They're being held accountable. They're being put on felony probation. They have mandatory treatment if it's a drug offense. And there's accountability. We're trying to help them to succeed, to turn their life back around, get out of the life of crime so that we can have a safer community. And I can tell already that we are having a significant impact. John from Spencer's Fresh Markets sent me a note and said, literally within weeks after Proposition 36 went into effect, his grocery stores saw an almost complete drop-off of retail theft in their communities because those that were stealing rampantly from them earlier had gotten the message. And so I want to thank you all and recognize that while we typically think of crime victims as being victims of rape, victims of child abuse, victims of domestic violence or sexual assault or murder, there's also this huge impact on many in California due to theft and drug crimes and the homelessness that is really a symptom of the theft and drug addiction problems that we have. So I wanted to highlight that. We're going to hear today from a victim to tell the story about a very serious crime committed against her and the impact of that crime on her. And I know that that's what you're here for more than to hear from me. So, but before we hear from Amber to tell her story, we're going to hear from Chief Rick Scott, our San Luis Obispo City Police Chief. He's got over 28 years of experience in policing. He has a depth of experience in progressive community policing. He specializes in community engagement. I'm sure if you've been in our community for the last several years, you've seen Chief Scott out and about and talking with the community. He's a graduate of the 248th session of the FBI National Academy. He has a master's degree in criminology and criminal justice from the University of Texas. And he represents San Luis Obispo internationally as the past chair of the IACP, which, refresh my memory, is the International Association of Chiefs of Police, okay, technology section, as well as he's our California delegate to the State Association of Chiefs of Police. So I'm proud to introduce my friend, San Luis Obispo Police Chief Rick Scott.
You may want to hold your applause. You don't know what I'm going to say, but so Thank you for the gracious introduction. And thank you all for being here this morning, and especially our honored guests who are going to share their really, really impactful stories with you all. And just thank you for commemorating today and our annual Crime Victim Rights Awareness Month. I am Rick Scott, Chief of Police for the City San Luis Obispo Police Department. When Dan reached out and asked if I would be interested in speaking today, I was super excited. I wanted to confirm. I said, this has nothing to do with St. Patrick's Day. He assured me it did not. I said, yes, I'm happy to be here with you. But looking around this room, I'm just really incredibly humbled to see all of our law enforcement partners, our crime survivors, and advocates throughout our community. And it is really, really a pleasure to be with you. As Dan had mentioned, you're going to hear from some survivors, briefly here in just a moment. And those are people that I look up to. Those are our heroes. And I think I speak for many of our law enforcement professionals that feel the same way. Those are truly the people that we do this work for. And they inspire us to lead and to even sacrifice, and then to deliver on the promises that we've made to ourselves and our community. I want to take a moment to thank all of our law enforcement partners that are represented here. Especially, I want to give a big thanks to Dan Dow and his district attorney's office for the work that they continue to do, not only for special events like this, but behind the scenes and in supporting all of the work that we do in law enforcement to find all-important justice. And so I'd like to give Dan and his team a big round of applause at this time. So thank you, Dan. Working together and under Dan's leadership, we do more for our community. We do better, and we're finding new, innovative ways to care and support all the members of our community, and especially those that have been tragically victimized by crime. It's really why we do what we do. And when I thought about what I would say to you here today, that kept coming up. Why do we do the work that we do? And so I spent some time reflecting on that very topic. And, I get asked a lot, why'd you become a police officer? And the fire academy was full, so this was it. Glad you thought that was funny. But in all honesty, what other job can you do that is so fulfilling? How can you impact someone's life in such a positive way? There's not any other career like that. But to look around the room and again, to hear the stories that you're going to hear, that really brings it home. And that is why that's why we do the work that we do, to lift up and to support all members of our community, sometimes the most vulnerable, and especially those that need help the most. That's really why all the people that wear these uniforms do the work that they do. On any given day, that may be finding shelter. Sometimes it's finding a warm meal for somebody. Sometimes it's being a good listener. And a lot of times it's delivering justice. And that is truly the work that we do. Sometimes it's all in one day that we find ourselves doing these remarkable tasks. It's not only our job to seek justice for our crime victims, but it's very, very important that we begin the restorative process for people that have been victimized. It's very, very important that we start this process as soon as we can and support people that are working really hard to rebuild their lives after this traumatic incident has occurred. I shared a story with Lumina Alliance just last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm a proud member of the board for Lumina Alliance, and I don't talk about this story very often. That was probably one of the first times I've ever talked about this. But back when I was a junior detective, one of my first cases, significant cases, was a lady who was feloniously killed, and she was killed by her estranged husband. And my job that night was talking to the 7 or 8 year old girl and trying to explain to her what had happened. And I just never forget, the wave of helplessness that rushed over me as I'm looking at this child, knowing that forever her life is changed. Losing both parents in the blink of an eye, it's really hard to put into words those emotions. And I remember very distinctly the promise that I made to myself at that time, that there was nothing I felt that I could do, but the one thing that I knew I could do was to find justice. And I would continue to be committed to that cause for the rest of my career in whatever form that would take. And I know it's the same for all of our other law enforcement professionals. You see, to us, these aren't crime victims. As the district attorney mentioned, these are not just statistics to be reported. These are people, and each and every person represents a precious life, some cut far too short. And that inspires us to again, do the work that we do. And for us, they're community members and they're brave survivors to be supported. By taking this people first, this survivor first approach, we empower our survivors and we give them a voice, when they're struggling to reclaim their lives. And sometimes we're giving a voice to those who tragically can no longer speak in the justice system. It is paramount that we preserve the rights of those that we serve, but it's critically important that we care for our crime survivors, our community members. This is what procedural justice looks like. You hear that term thrown around a lot, but this is what it means. This is what community policing means. It's how we build trust and confidence in our community. And it's not only by being, just, but it's also doing the right thing. And it's helping people recover in an equitable and healthy way. This survivor approach is how we de-victimize and we destigmatize our survivors. This begins with the path of healing and recovery, not only through the court system and all the things that come along with that, but it's when the 911 call is placed. That's when this work begins. Our survivors will spend a lifetime working to put a tragedy behind them, but they will never, ever forget how they were treated, ever. They will always remember who stood with them on their journey. That I'm certain. It's important that we continue this work, and I appreciated the theme today. So today it's kinship, connecting, and healing. And it's important that we continue our devotion to kinship and treating people, as I said, equitably and as members of our community, and how we would want our family to be treated should they be subject to something like this. Connecting people in a human way, on a human level, supporting them, and healing through love and through support, and of course, the relentless pursuit of justice. So we stand with our survivors, for a more just and peaceful future, not just for this month, although it's great to bring awareness, but we do this each and every single day, and I'm proud to be part of that team. So with that, I really appreciate you being here today, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Chief Scott. I don't think I could have asked for a better law enforcement partner to come and speak today. So thank you. It makes, I think, everybody here know that law enforcement from the top down really does care about all of our victims here in the entire county. So thank you so much. I am the Director of Victim Witness. My name is Jesse Yates. And I also want to thank all of you for being here. I know there's a lot of places and things everybody has, and so taking time out of everyone's very busy schedules to be here and to support the victims of our county is definitely something that we appreciate beyond measure, and we cannot express that enough, especially how many nonprofits we have, including our nonprofit who partnered with us last year, Lisa Frazier with Center for Family Strengthening. I saw was here as well. And so people partner with us once they know what we do, and they do affect our victims. The collaboration just doesn't stop. And so each year we do collaborate with a local nonprofit who does offer vital services to victims across our county. And this year we're very honored that CAPSLO has partnered with us on being a speaker here today for us. And so for those of you who don't know what CAPSLO does, because if you don't work with them on a daily basis, you might see their name up and say, okay, what exactly do they do? So they're a nonprofit agency, and they focus on helping people and changing lives, and they've assisted over 26,000 people across Central and Southern California, but the majority of those live right here in San Luis Obispo County. CAPSLO is committed to eliminating poverty and empowering individuals and families to achieve economic self-sufficiency through a comprehensive array of community-based programs Those programs focus on high-quality early education and childcare, and that's really where we need to hit it right now is with the kids. It's also a month of the child. And so we really need to remember if we don't help those children, the trauma that they go through the crimes that they experience, that's the reason why they end up in the justice system later on. So that's something that we really would like to highlight and know that so many people here do support the children, and we really appreciate that. They also focus on accessible and affordable dependent care. They address barriers for safe, affordable housing and basic needs, health services and education, as well as resources, connection, and navigation. And so today, our speaker, Ms. Lauren Ledinger, has been the Outreach and Development Director at CAPSLO since 2019. In her role, she leads the planning team, which is responsible for the grant writing, which we know is very important, especially right now, reporting, right? Reporting and contract processing at the organization. She's also responsible for the development program and outreach to the community. Lauren is a volunteer with the Sheriff's Department and Morro Bay Police Department, so we all partner here. It's all about, we're crossed in so many ways. And she's one of the assistant producers on the Yoga Hour podcast. And she's on the board of the Morro Bay Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber Foundation, and the Association of Fundraising Professionals. So you always find that the people who work for nonprofits are also working for other nonprofits. And so we want to thank her for that very much. And so please join me in welcoming Outreach and Development Director, Ms. Lauren Ledinger.
I do have some visual aids, so we'll see if it switches over or not. If not, that's okay, but thank you for having me here today. Basically, there we go. I'm just going to provide a little overview of CAPSLO and all of the services that are available to the community. Since many of you here today are the people who will be looking for services to support people who have experienced, a crime against them, it's great to know what resources are available in the community. Everything we do at CAPSLO is about helping people who are experiencing poverty find self-sufficiency. So it's all about empowering people to help themselves. So Jess mentioned that we have a lot of programs for children, and also mentioned childcare. It comes up as one of the most urgent needs we have in our community these days, and we have great resources available. Early childhood education through our Head Start programs, 0 to 5, our childcare resource connection, which you can access through our website at capslo.org. People can go on there and look for childcare, see if there's childcare available, and also get help paying for childcare. So a lot of great resources there. We also help people become childcare providers, so starting little businesses. And then, of course, all of this includes healthy, nutritious foods. Our family and community support services basically works to help people stay together in the family unit, and we often get contacted by the Department of Social Services to help families that are in crisis and do really intensive case management to address their particular needs. We have all sorts of different programs. So, this is a condensed version of what we do at CAPSLO. We have about 28 programs. So the other things include our Help Me Grow program, which basically helps people understand where their child should be developmentally. And then also our SAFE program, which basically provides support services to children and families in a school setting. We have health and prevention services. So we have 2 health and prevention clinics, one in Grover Beach, one here in San Luis Obispo, and we now have a mobile clinic thanks to the County of SLO and some funding. So we are now reaching all remote areas of the county with all sorts of reproductive and health services, and you can see some of them are listed here, but basically all free or SunCal eligible for any of our community members. Also, as a part of health and prevention, we have teen wellness, and we just received a grant several months ago to help with mental health for teens, which we know is a pressing issue these days. And we do a lot of work with health and nutrition with this group in the schools. Some of you may have heard of this, our Liberty Tattoo Removal Program, which basically helps folks who have gang-related or antisocial, very visible tattoos. They can get tattoos removed for free through this program by just volunteering for a few hours and then getting a removal session, and it really helps change their lives when they're ready to move past their past. Our energy and weatherization program is about helping people stay in their homes. When I met with Jesse's team, they mentioned this is a service that folks need a lot of. So it might be paying utility bills, it might be doing small repairs to keep them in their homes and that sort of thing. So a lot of great resources available through energy and weatherization. And then, of course, don't bother to try to read all this, but our 40 Prado Homeless Services Center also provides a whole host of wraparound services to individuals in our community. We have a medical center there, we have case management, housing navigation, pet kennels, and recuperative care, safe parking, outreach. All of that happens out of our 40 Prado location. These are just some various stats, so you don't have to, again, remember all of this, but each year we're helping thousands of individuals come in and out of the center, whether it's through meals or case management or getting them housed, and housing people directly from the street into housing. This I always like to include because people have a misperception that 40 Prado just serves San Luis Obispo, but it serves the whole county. And we often get some of the folks that have been in and out of homelessness for many, many, many years. So we work with some of the tougher cases in homelessness. Our Adult Day Center is a wonderful resource up in Paso. It's for folks that are experiencing Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. And so we provide a really cognitive, stimulating environment for them. They have a great time, and it gives their caregivers a chance to work and to go shopping and to have those resources. And I did want to mention, we have every quarter we do free caregiver retreats. So if you're working with a loved one who is experiencing Alzheimer's, that resource is available. And then our supportive services for veterans' families, which is also focused on helping homeless veterans and their families. So we have a full staff that works with landlords and gets folks housed quickly. And of course, there's always opportunities to volunteer. So anyone out there, if you're like me and you have a full-time job and are doing 20 other things, here's another one. Please feel free to let us know and reach out if you're interested in volunteering. I will say that Children's Day on the Plaza is this Saturday. So again, there's going to be some great resources there, and CAPSLO has been involved with that for many years. And in the room where we'll have lunch later, there's some brochures about CAPSLO and other ways to get involved. I would encourage you to visit our website. And if you're looking for resources for people that you're working with, reach out. If we don't offer the service, we know who does. We work and partner with all sorts of organizations throughout the county. And yeah, just visit our website and let me know after this if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Again, all those CAPSLO programs, the Christopher G. Money Victim Witness Assistance Center refers across all of them. And so they're a huge partner on us, and I think we probably call your guys' office every single day. So thank you so much for being here and for supporting the victims in our county. Next, I would like to introduce someone who's not only a crime victim survivor, but also a local law enforcement officer. As we all know, no one is immune to crime, and it affects every person in our county in one way or another. I'm looking across here, and almost everybody that I know has been a victim of crime, or their direct loved one who's very close to them has. And so I would be curious to see if anybody here has not been affected Obispo Sheriff's Office and as a correctional technician within the jail in October of 2007 until September of 2013. From there, she joined the SLO County Probation, working in juvenile hall as a juvenile officer from September of 2013 to August of 2015. Amanda was then selected to be an adult probation officer. I think I'd rather do the adults than the kids. And so I don't know, it's a lot. So she's obviously been all across, and she did that from August of 2015 and worked in multiple assignments until December of 2017. And then in January of 2018, she was an officer with the Pismo Beach Police Department for a year. And then in December of 2018, she returned to probation and resumed supervising adult offenders in multiple assignments and helped develop the Mental Health Diversion Court. And that's where I was able to work with her through, after that, through the BHCAT team. So that stands for Behavioral Health Community Action Team. So she's out hitting the streets every single day, helping those with mental illness as well as co-occurring mental illness, substance abuse. And so she's had the full gamut. So if you have any questions about what goes on in our county, she'll be at the lunch after, so you can pick her brain. And it gives me great honor to be able to introduce Amanda today because I've had the privilege of working with her for several years. And I've found that she puts her whole heart into her community in giving back. She's had to sacrifice many things in order to serve those in our community, and she does it willingly every single day, gets up and goes out there no matter how it affects her, and you're going to hear a little bit about that right now. And so it gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce, where she's sitting, Miss Amanda Bird. There you are.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me. Jesse called me and asked me if I would come and provide a speech. I was honored to do so. I'll just start off a little bit by talking about why I started my job in law enforcement and how it's been a blessing for me. Law enforcement has provided stability and benefits for my family. Financially, we've never had to worry. It's provided me time to spend with my families when I've needed to take time off. It's been a great career. It's developed me into being a strong individual, developing great values and becoming a better role model, not only for my peers, but also for my immediate family and my children. And it's made me a better parent. Taught me discipline and integrity. I've established a commitment to the community while working in law enforcement, every different avenue that I've been afforded, whether that was working in the jail or most recently being assigned to the Sheriff's CAT team, where we responded to crisis calls and connected children to housing that were living on the streets, to individuals that were in crisis and just needed further mental health treatment. I've also been able to develop some growth and opportunities for myself in advancing in my career, becoming a leader, becoming a training officer for many other officers throughout the county. I've developed some skills as far as being able to respond to crisis calls and how to communicate with individuals in need. And none of this would have been afforded to me, and I wouldn't have these skills and ability to do any of this if it wasn't for the opportunity in law enforcement. I've had some personal fulfillments, a sense of purpose here in our county. Knowing that you're helping others is a personal satisfaction. During my time being a probation officer, I've had individuals later on come and thank me for holding them accountable and arresting them, which seems kind of odd, right? Someone would thank you for taking them to jail, but in the end, called me years later and said, you know, I now have a house, I'm married, and I have custody of my kid, and I thank you for that. And then having a work-life balance, which I don't know, I'm kind of like the person that likes to take on 20 things at one time, so working in law enforcement's definitely taught me that. But working in law enforcement requires physical, mental, and emotional toughness. There's a heightened level of awareness on and off duty, and there's an expectation that you will be forced to endure certain levels of abuse. However, had it not been for this career, I wouldn't be a victim. Anyone can be a victim. And so, to speak to that, it's not just myself that's became a victim, but my family has become a victim. I'm currently in a matter with a case here in our county where myself and my children have been a victim of someone stalking. And it's only due to, because of my career in law enforcement, because I would never have met this person otherwise. So law enforcement officers can also become victims in the community. And we wouldn't think of that because we spend majority of the time helping other individuals get to the right resources and taking their reports appropriately for them to be heard. A little bit about my situation is I'm a mother of 2, and I have a daughter who's 13 years old who's autistic. We found out years ago when she was a young child, and we worked a lot on her learning how to speak. There was a point in time where the only 2 people that understood what she was saying was her father and I. But now today, we've worked on her learning how to go out in the community and socialize. There's no stranger danger for this young 13-year-old girl. We would stand in the grocery line and she stands directly right next to the person in front of us that we don't even know. So we work on that. A lot of our free time is spent doing therapy outside of work, going on outings, teaching her how to appropriately stand in line or not elope into traffic. But because of being a victim, the idea of teaching her how to socialize has kind of been paused. We had to teach her that she couldn't answer the front door for, who, if it might have been the neighbor coming over to say hi and check on her. So those are just some things that it's affected us in a personal light. Because of my current situation, being a victim, it's affected my ability to complete some of my work duties. Maybe not being able to communicate to other individuals who are housed within our county jail to afford them services and help them get connected so that those gaps are filled and that they could have housing or other afforded opportunities when they hit the road in my current assignment. Being a victim has caused a little bit of stress. Working in law enforcement, knowing that I need to hurry home immediately after my shift to be able to provide care for my daughter. We don't participate much in community activities anymore at times because of being on guard. But we're working through that. Being a victim has required me to rely on the criminal justice system for help, and that's obtaining restraining orders, which have not stopped me from continued victimization. But throughout the entirety of my situation, I've had ongoing support, and it started with the law enforcement agency that took my case seriously and listened to me as a victim. The ongoing support from my employer, and lastly, the DA's office in continually reaching out to me through victim witness to make sure I'm apprised of what is happening in court and provide me with support during my testimony in the prosecution. Thank you. As a victim, I have faith in the criminal justice system, and I know, not just from working with the DA's office in my profession, but from my living experience, the victim witness office and prosecution team are here to ensure that I do not need to live in fear for my family's safety and that justice will be delivered. Thank you.
Ms. Bird, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Thank you for your service to our community. And along with that, I want to thank all the folks in our office that work every day to support and serve victims of crime, whether it be Amanda or child victims, elder victims, college students that have been victim of traumatic sexual assaults, or people victims of financial abuse. There's so many different situations, and our staff, particularly our victim advocates and our attorneys that are working so closely along with our investigative staff personally with victims of crime. I would just like to take a moment to have my staff in the DA's office, if you work with victim witness or in the DA's office, would you stand? I want to recognize you for your service to victims in our community. I made one note earlier just to make sure that I wanted to take a moment to also welcome Supervisor Dawn Ortiz-Legg, who I didn't see at the very beginning, but she's here. And again, Supervisor, I was telling the community that we appreciate the fact that our board has prioritized public safety, particularly at a time of economic downturn when you've got to make tough decisions. We appreciate that commitment. And so thank you for being here. One other elected official is Clint Wyrick. Clint is in the back. He's on the city council, and he also serves as Senator John Laird's community representative. So he's here. Are there any other representatives of elected officials that I did not mention? I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm representing Assemblymember Dawn Addis.
Thank you, Jen, for being here, and we thank the Assemblywoman for her strong support as well. And in fact, last year she carried a bill that was aimed at helping survivors of sexual assault to be able to use the civil justice system many years, in some cases, after the harm has been done to them. And so I want to thank Assemblywoman Addis for getting that bill successfully through and passed. Well, with that, I think I've already gone a little bit over our time, but I just wanted to reiterate that we, in our community in San Luis Obispo, we're fortunate to have wonderful relationships with partners like the Center for Family Strengthening, like with Cap Slow, like with Lumina Alliance, and the court-appointed special advocates who are also represented here today. I hope that you'll take a moment to join us in collaboration and networking on that theme of kinship, in collaboration that this year's Victim Rights Awareness Month is all about. Join us over here in the rooms on the side. You'll be very impressed if you just go in there. The food looks amazing, and it's been set up just very warm and inviting. I want to thank our staff and highlight Sherry Thompson. I don't know if she's here right now, but rather than ask her to stand, Sherry, here she is in the back. Sherry made all of the flower arrangements, and that was a personal labor of love. I want to thank Sherry. You know, our staff of 108 public servants work in various roles. She works in our accounting team. You know, who would have known the DA's office, a crime fighter, is an accountant? And I want to acknowledge that our entire team works in the DA's office because we're committed to our mission of protecting San Luis Obispo County through aggressive and fair prosecuting crime while protecting the rights of crime victims. With that, I hope you'll join us and have a great week. Thank you.